Nicki Minaj has built a reputation as one of the loudest voices in the music industry, and not just through her music, but through her public combativeness. Throughout her career, Minaj has used her position, her bully pulpit, to aggressively challenge critics, competitors, and even fans, using her immense platform to deploy her influence and weaponize her voice. What has become clear is that Minaj's approach involves a form of public confrontation that can be viewed as a weaponized bully pulpit, where the power and visibility she commands aggravates and escalates conflict, turning them into public spectacle. The concept of a bully pulpit originally referred to using a position of authority or influence to speak out and influence others positively. However, Minaj often takes this to a more contentious level. From her high profile feuds with fellow artists like Cardi B, Remy Ma, and Miley Cyrus, to her recent attack on Jay-Z regarding the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show, Minaj has consistently deployed her public platform to air grievances and escalate personal conflicts. She holds little back when responding to perceived slights, often turning her social media channels into stages for attack. Nicki Minaj's recent tirade against Jay-Z over Lil Wayne's perceived exclusion from the Super Bowl halftime show in New Orleans next year provides a perfect example. In a series of posts on X, formerly Twitter, Minaj accused Jay-Z of letting personal grudges influence his decision to allow Kendrick Lamar to headline instead of Lil Wayne, who is a New Orleans native. She used her platform to voice not just disappointment, but to attack Jay-Z on a personal level and encourage others to attack him as well. She claimed that Jay-Z's decision was influenced by personal grudges against Birdman, Drake, and herself, suggesting it was an act of spite. In her posts, Minaj also drew a comparison between Jay-Z's involvement with the NFL and Colin Kaepernick's protest, accusing Jay-Z of prioritizing personal gain over supporting fellow Black artists. She criticized him for allegedly, quote, denying a young Black man, Lil Wayne, what he rightfully put into the game, end quote, and referred to Jay-Z as spiteful and evil for his actions. The effectiveness of Minaj's antics strategy lies in the amplification of her message. Her millions of followers and her cultural significance ensure that her statements do not just simply fade away. They become trending topics, with both her fans and critics and just the general public engaging in the discussion. It's a form of strategic communication. She can turn a personal conflict into a public debate using the dynamics of social media to keep the issue alive, which also puts her name in the headlines. This is where the term weaponized becomes particularly apropos. What might be a typical disagreement or venting of frustration for someone without her platform, it becomes a magnified and often public humiliation or intimidation for her targets. To be clear, Nicki Minaj is not alone in using her platform to fight personal battles or to target people for intimidation. Many public figures do so. But Minaj's pattern of sustained and very public confrontations is noteworthy because of its frequency and intensity. Nicki Minaj embodies the dual nature of a weaponized bully pulpit. On one hand, it allows her to rally her supporters and defend herself against criticism, even if the criticism is warranted. On the other, it subjects her targets to a deluge of negative attention with far reaching consequences. There is a certain irony in the fact that Minaj has also been vocal about the need for artists to be respected and honored in their lifetimes, as she mentioned in her Super Bowl related post about Lil Wayne. This advocacy could align with the traditional use of a bully pulpit, shining light on issues of legacy, equity, and respect in the music industry. Yet the way she delivers this message often involves the same personal attacks and vitriol that detract from her broader points. Nicki Minaj's use of social media to spread misinformation about COVID 19 is another significant example of how she has weaponized her bully pulpit. In September 2021, Minaj sparked controversy and panic by tweeting that her cousin's friend in Trinidad became impotent after receiving the COVID 19 vaccine. This claim, qui- this claim quickly went viral despite being widely discredited by medical experts and public health organizations around the world, including in Trinidad. Her tweet triggered a massive response on social media with health professionals, government officials, and media outlets refuting her claims. The incident culminated in public statements from Dr. Anthony Fauci, the Trinidad and Tobago health minister, and even the White House offering to educate Minaj on COVID 19 vaccines. However, rather than retract or clarify her statement, Minaj doubled down, claiming that she was being unfairly targeted and silenced for speaking out. This shifted the narrative from one about vaccine safety to one about censorship and personal freedom, a tactic often seen in the weaponization of a bully pulpit. By framing the backlash against her recklessness and ignorance as an attack on her personal autonomy and freedom of speech, Minaj was able to galvanize her fan base, many of whom claim that she was a victim of a larger system trying to suppress her voice. This tactic deflected attention away from the harm caused by the spread of misinformation and instead positioned her as a figure of resistance. This is a classic example of how a weaponized bully pulpit can not only escalate conflicts, but also distort important public discussions by shifting focus to the person rather than to the issues at hand. Minaj's influence is undeniable, and her platform gives her the ability to sway public opinion on specific issues. But the COVID 19 incident in particular demonstrates the dangers of using such a platform without accountability, particularly when it comes to spreading misinformation that can have serious, real world consequences. Nicki Minaj's weaponized bully pulpit is a strategy focused on personal gain. Her push to be included in the Barbie movie soundtrack is another prime example of how she uses her bully pulpit to advance her career. Initially, Minaj was not part of the highly anticipated project. However, she leveraged her long-standing nickname, the Harajuku Barbie, a persona she cultivated since early in her career, to position herself as an essential part of the soundtrack. Through a mix of social media engagement and public statements, she subtly and not so subtly implied that it would be impossible to have a Barbie movie soundtrack without her, given her association with the Barbie brand. Minaj's ability to rally her massive fan base, the Barbs, was crucial in this effort. Her fans flooded social media, insisting that Minaj be included in the project, thereby amplifying the pressure on the producers to include her. This kind of coordinated fan attack, driven by Minaj's public stance, is a hallmark of her strategy, using her audience to create the narrative that her inclusion is inevitable or essential, even if it was not originally planned. This aligns with Minaj's strategy as using her platform for self gain. If Lil Wayne were to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show, as Minaj has suggested or demanded, she would likely expect to be invited as a guest to perform alongside him. This would give her a chance to perform on one of the largest stages in the world, potentially providing her with the largest audience of her career. Super Bowl halftime shows reach tens of millions of viewers globally, which would significantly boost her visibility and her influence and her revenue. Minaj has often expressed loyalty to Lil Wayne, and their close professional relationship means that she would likely lobby to be part of any major performance involving him. By positioning herself as an indispensable part of Wayne's Young Money legacy, she ensures that she would be considered for these high profile opportunities, which serve her long term goal of maintaining her status as a dominant figure in hip hop and pop culture. This drive for self gain is consistent with her use of the bully pulpit to insert herself into major cultural moments, from the Barbie soundtrack to potential Super Bowl performances. Nicki Minaj's use of a weaponized bully pulpit has certainly kept her in the public eye, but it comes at a cost. Her tactics have garnered her a reputation for being more about escalating conflict than fostering constructive dialogue, leading some to accuse her of using her platform as a tool for bullying. While her fans see her as someone standing her ground, critics argue that she often oversteps the line between self defense and intimidation and targeting. In an era where social media amplifies every statement and multiplies every conflict, Minaj's approach to wielding her bully pulpit is both effective and polarizing. It allows her to stay relevant, but also raises questions about the ethics of using such a vast platform to attack others. As her career continues in its twilight years, it remains to be seen whether this strategy will ultimately serve her or become a final liability in the court of public opinion. One thing is for sure, Nicki Minaj is just like every other person. She does what works for her, and her behavior will not change unless she hits a rock bottom or unless there's some kind of intervention, perhaps prayer.